Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the Punt It Podcast. My name is Tej. I am one half of the co-host of the Punt It Podcast. My other co-half is Chris, and I'm going to let him introduce himself now.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Punt It Podcast.
So let's tell you a little bit about ourselves. Like I said, my name's Tej. We both work full time, but we're both very passionate about football in general. So, a little background about me. I am a Dolphins fan. I have been a Dolphins fan since I was little. I also root for the Packers as well with my buddy, who I will let you kind of tell his fandom.
Yeah, I am a Green Bay Packers fan, have been ever since I can remember starting to watch football. I'm basically a Packers fan because I was born in Green Bay. So that's basically where that origin comes from.
And I became a Finn fan because my dad was a massive Dan Marino fan. But so obviously by the title that you could tell, we're going to be talking about the trash division, as I've been calling it this year, with the NFC East. And I think Chris will agree with me on this sentiment, where this division was just terrible in every facet of the word.
Yeah, I don't know how one of these teams was allowed in the playoffs, because if I had a choice, I'd have just picked a different team throughout the NFC and just said, screw the NFC East, you don't deserve a playoff spot.
Oh, no, absolutely. And I think a majority of the people outside of fans of the NFC East would probably agree with that. And I'm sure even some within the NFC East would agree with it. I think the winner this year kind of surprised a lot of people. I know for me personally, I thought I had the Cowgirls winning it. But
Yeah, I think I did too, personally, but when Dak Prescott went down, that kind of shook things up there in Dallas and didn't really help them out situationally. And I don't think that really helped out Dak's massive contract that he wants by getting hurt like that.
Oh, no, for sure. Absolutely it didn't. But let's go ahead and let's start with the actual winners of the NFC East and the Washington football team. Kind of a ragtag group that was thrown together, I feel. They didn't really have any star players, I felt, besides Chase Young obviously being that main stud on defense. Terry McLaurin looks like he could be a stud at wide receiver. Quarterback was a big question mark. They drafted Dwayne Haskins recently. Obviously, he's no longer with the team, which I thought was a massive shock. But, Riverboat Ron, he likes to kind of maintain order and have like a good ship being run over there. And I guess Haskins probably didn't fit the mold. I know some people are saying that he's probably one of the biggest busts in recent memory. And I don't think I think it's too early to tell, but I'm a little bit more patient when it comes to players that get drafted that. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, with the Haskins deal, I think it was more of an immaturity side of things as to why he got let go. And it didn't seem like he was really focused and determined to actually play the game for when he got put into the starting lineup. But as far as a team, yeah, I agree. I do think it's kind of like they just kind of got thrown together and they found some success when they needed to, and they made it to the playoffs. And I think I'm not sure what they're going to do with their quarterback situation, whether it's going to be Alex Smith next year or whether it's going to be Tyler Heineke, which he did sign I believe it was a 3-year contract. Not for very much, though, but I believe it was a 3-year contract. And I'm actually excited to see what he can do, because that playoff game showed some bright spots for it's Taylor Heineke, not Tyler. My apologies. But anyways, I really liked what I saw at him out of that playoff game. I was hoping they were going to win, but
I think everyone was. Let's be honest here. I think everyone's like, no, Tom Brady cannot keep winning like this. It's like that gif of Breaking Bad, where it's like, we can't keep getting away with this. But unfortunately, as anyone, I assume if you're listening to this podcast, you are a fan of football. We all know, unfortunately, he did. We'll get to them down the road. We actually have a breakdown, which I'll talk more about later at the end of the episode, kind of scheduling so you know when to pay attention on if you're looking for a particular thing. But like I said, Washington, the biggest, I'm not sure what the biggest surprise was. The fact they made the playoffs, they changed their team name, or what happened there. Hopefully they have a different team name besides the football team next year. Ironically, I still kind of like the name the football team, but it needs to be something different.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not I'm not a fan of the football team, to be honest with you. I do like their jerseys, though. I don't mind those, and I like the fact that they put the numbers on their helmet. I like that as well.
Very
But
underrated.
I just don't like the name.
Yeah, no, very, very underrated when you put numbers on helmets. But so yeah, like we said, quarterback situation. I still feel like they bring back Alex Smith for 1-2 more years, but I feel like they go out and maybe they try and grab another quarterback in this draft. This quarterback draft is pretty deep as it is. So I think they're picking, I believe it's 15th, I want to say. 15th, 16th. Let me look that up real quick. But there's going to be so many quarterbacks in this draft, I feel, taken in the first round that it won't really matter, you know?
Yeah, I think there's multiple teams in need of a quarterback, and I think if Alex Smith can stay healthy, he is a quarterback that can lead the football team to another playoff berth, but it's just a fact that he's got to stay healthy and not throw Taylor under the bus and say, you got to play this game. Sorry, I'm hurt. You know?
Yeah. My apologies. They picked 19th this year, according to some websites here. So, but yeah, I could see them sticking with Taylor Heineke. That wouldn't be a bad pick. Kind of see what you got in him and maybe surround him with better talent. I feel like their offensive line needs to be worked on a little bit because looking at this, they were sacked 50 times this year, which is just too high, you know. Their defensive side of the ball, it's really good, obviously.
Yeah,
But yeah, they were sacked 50 times. They had rushing yards of 1611, which is pretty low. Their receiving yards, they had 3,796, but 1,118 of that is with Terry McLaurin. I feel like maybe adding another weapon there. Logan Thomas is pretty good. Pretty underrated tight end out there. But when it's just McLaurin and Thomas, and, you know, like their third next one was J.D. McKissick, the running back. So I feel like maybe another weapon there wouldn't be a bad idea. I felt like their defense was solid all year. I had them for a bit in fantasy. Just kind of looking at some of their numbers. I mean, obviously, Chase Young does not need to speak for himself here. You know, Montez Sweat was another great defensive end. That's a deadly duo that's going to be there for years to come. They've got some good cornerbacks. They've got good safeties, I feel. I mean, you can always upgrade those in like the second and third rounds. But I feel like offensive line and wide receivers where they really need to go here.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, that defense played great. I mean, you see what they did against Tampa Bay. They kept the football team's offense. The defense kept the offense in the game the entire game. And then, I mean, you can really tell how good of a job that they did playing against Tampa Bay within the next week as Tampa Bay went on to play New Orleans. And then, I mean, their offense against New Orleans didn't play very well, but then they went on to play Green Bay, and Green Bay's defense just played horribly, and they didn't do really good at all. And then they went on, obviously, to play Kansas City, and Kansas City's defense couldn't do anything. So, I mean, you got a good defense behind you. Obviously, the saying is defense wins championships, but you also need a decent offense to win those championships because you got to put up points. But yeah, I think you need to focus offensive line and potentially another receiver and maybe a quarterback. But I think they should give Taylor a chance to prove himself because in the regular season here it said, I mean, he only went 12 for 19 and 137 yards, one touchdown. I mean that's not a bad sample size, but I mean, he obviously got that playoff game where he played pretty well, kept them in the game the whole time.
He did look really good in that playoff game. So I think that's why you take the gamble. You let him play for 1 year, and you kind of see what happens there. And you know what? If he doesn't work next year, then guess what? You're probably going to be picking, you know, potentially a top 10 pick because I think this division's about to go through a massive shakeup, you know, and we'll talk about that here in a second as well. But I think, you know, if you get a top 10 pick in the next year's draft as well, it's going to be some good – I mean, there's always good quarterbacks coming out of drafts. So, you know, I say roll the dice, maybe add some extra talent because people are going to be going for those quarterbacks, so some good players are going to fall. And you just kind of go from there.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But no, like overall year, I think if you're a Washington fan, you have to sit here and say this season was a success. And more just from the fact that you guys were competitive and they had a culture change. Ron Rivera is a terrific coach, and they have some great stories on the football team, from Alex Smith and possibly never being able to play football again to possibly never having a leg again to then playing in the NFL again. Ron Rivera beating cancer. They've got a lot of great stories, so they're building a good character. I wish their owner would be gone. That's probably the biggest culture change that needs to happen. But if he goes more hands off and they don't do anything stupid, I hope what they don't do is go out and spend big money in free agency thinking they're a playoff team, because that would just be bad for the football team and their fans. This still needs to take time, but the fact that you can do this shows a good step in the direction.
Yeah, for sure. I think this needs at least another 2 years to develop, depending on the quarterback situation and depending on how they do in this draft. I mean, I think they can potentially, again, make the wild card round next year, but I don't think they get past the divisional round if they manage to squeak out a win in the wild card round. So I just think they need to focus on getting some good young talent, and then in the years to come, they'll be one of those better powerhouse teams in the NFC if they do it right, obviously.
I mean, they were the only team in this division to be a positive differential in points. So, I mean, clearly their defense is good. Like I said, you add a few pieces here. Maybe you add a few pieces in free agency, but you don't go crazy. You work on that offense, and you could be a contender in this division for years to come. I truly do see that happening.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think the Giants, they're going in the wrong direction. And the Eagles, obviously, we'll touch base on them here in a little bit, but they're a dumpster fire in themselves. So
you mentioned the Giants. Unless you have something to say more on the Redskins, there, I say, do you want to move on to the Giants and talk about them?
Nope, I think we're good. Let's go to the Giants.
Okay, so the Giants, they placed second in this division, whether you want to say that they tied with the Cowboys or not. But the Giants, according to ESPN football standings, they were second at 6-10. They didn't. Obviously, not having Saquon Barkley is the biggest thing you can come up with there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but at the same time, I'm not sure that he doesn't really necessarily help them win more. I mean, he might help them win 2 more games, but the running back position, he's a deadly running back. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, he's had a fall off the last couple years, in my opinion, as far as productivity, because he's been getting hurt. He's been kind of playing a little bit gingerly, not playing as hard as he did in his rookie season, and I'm just not sure how much Saquon would have changed the offensive balance as far as running. I mean, I do believe he would have got over 1,000 yards as far as Wayne Gallman, who got 682.
Do you see who's second?
Daniel Jones.
There? Yeah.
Daniel Jones with that long run boosts him to second where he fell. Man, that is something.
I'm going to just disagree with you on that one. I think Saquon would have. I think if Saquon was healthy, I think the Giants win the division as it was this year. Now, that being said, spoiler alert, I'll say if Dak Prescott was healthy, they would have won the division. I think Saquon is that good of a player. It's hard to find. I'm not going to say he's Derrick Henry-like, because Derrick Henry is just a freak. You don't find someone that big, that fast, that mean. But Henry's one of those guys. Well, not Henry. Barkley's one of those guys that can do it all. He can catch it. He can, because that's one big thing that was also missing was their receiving game. Like, you take a look at, and whether that's a product of Daniel Jones or the offensive line that still needs to be fixed, that they've been trying to fix since Eric Flowers was drafted, but like, you take a look at the receiving, their highest receiver was 751 yards. Now, they had consistency here. Slayton had 751. Shepard had 656. Ingram had 654. Golden Tate had 388, but then you get drop off after there. You got a wide receiver, running back of Deion Lewis with 127. Wayne Gallman, who had 114. I feel like if you have Barkley there, you're looking at potentially a 300-400 receiving yard running back, as well as possibly a 700 to 1,000 yard running back, and that changes your offense. That changes the differential, and that helps your defense.
Right, but I mean, at a negative 77-point differential, I mean, you think with Barkley in the lineup, you get maybe 3 to 7 points a game with him, And I don't know that that's just enough to overcome how poorly their defense played, and how, I mean, it'll help their offensive stats and help them score a little bit more points. But I mean, their defense just was not very good this year, personally.
No, and that's why I think looking at it, they need to invest in this defense. Blake Martinez, who you and I are both familiar with. Again, he had 151 total tackles, which is awesome. But after that, you got Logan Ryan, Jabril Peppers. You would think those are guys would be great. You got Julian Love, who I've never even heard of, Tate Crowder, Leonard Williams. But then, the next guy I know I can find is Kyle Sackrell, from, good old Sackrell from Green Bay. Or I know his name is Fackrell, but I remember a lot of people call him Sackrell. Dexter Lawrence. But after that, you got B.J. Hill. After that, I really start, they need to work on the defense. They've got a decent offense. So it's the work on the trenches and work out. I'm a big proponent of that. As you can tell from when we play franchise, I usually draft offensive and defensive line and then go outwards. But I am a big fan of, you work on those trenches. It's not the sexy pick, but you look at what a Quentin Nelson did to Indianapolis. And I truly think if you find that guy, I need to just keep this back up because I don't know exactly where the Giants pick, but if a Penny Sewell drops to you or something like that, you got to take that, But
yeah, I mean, personally, I think that the Giants need to at least look at potentially drafting another quarterback because, I mean, Daniel Jones, he played in 14 games. He's 280 for 448, 62.5 completion, almost 3,000 yards, averaged 240 yards a game, and he only threw 11 touchdowns, but he threw 10 interceptions. So, I mean, Daniel's been in the league for, 2-3 years now? I can't remember when he got drafted. But, it's time to – you need to really evaluate Daniel Jones, and you need to determine, is he the guy moving forward? And if you even have a remote question mark behind that, then you really got to look at your quarterback position because that's where it all starts on the offense. I mean, you can have great running backs, great receivers, but if you don't have a quarterback, you ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, the 62.5% completion rate, that's not good. But the yards per game, the 240 yards per game, that's not bad. I think a lot of it is, look at who he's throwing to. I mean, Evan Ingram, they say, is this great tight end, and I think he's good, don't get me wrong, but is Darius Slayton that good? Not really. He's probably a 2 or a 3 on most teams. Is Sterling Shepard that good? No. Again, he's probably a 3 or a 4. Golden Tate used to be really good. I don't know what happened there. I think you got to go... I know I said go to the line, but you got to draft more wide receivers. You got to draft more people to throw. I'm more the take the patient route whenever it comes to. I call these guys prospects. To me, Daniel Jones is still a prospect. Was he a reach when he was drafted? I think everyone knew that at the time. But again, he's a project quarterback, and you can win with a project quarterback. Because it just takes time. You got to get the right system. They had a new coach this year. So, implementing a new offense is going to be hard for a young quarterback like that. So, it'll be interesting to kind of see what they do next year with him having a whole nother year under the system. Like you looked at, we'll use A-Rod for you. Everyone said that he was terrible under the first year under a new system, but maybe the second year, he just had an MVP season. Am I saying Daniel Jones is going to get an MVP season next year? No, but I'm saying you will see improvements. You'll see, I'm going to guess probably a 70 to 75%. That's what you want to see. You want to see Daniel Jones improve on what he does.
Wait, did you say Aaron Rodgers was garbage last year?
No.
In that new system?
No, but you had people saying he wasn't himself. He's getting old. Okay. He's getting washed up. That first year.
Those stories were not very pleasant for me. It's like the dude went 13-3. Yeah, we skated by some games, but come on now.
Yeah, no, but to me, I think the big thing here is the receiving yards, you had to have a better wide receiver. If only you had one that you didn't trade. I understand he's a head case, but and then your interceptions, like I'm looking at this now, their highest interception total was 3.
In a game?
No, for like the season. They only had 11 interceptions all year.
Oh.
Xavier Howard had 10,
Yeah, I gotcha.
So that's just something that's gotta change for them, and I feel like you gotta go out, you gotta get better defense, better defense, better line, because looking at again another team that was sacked 50 times in this division.
Yeah, and my thing is personally, I think Darius Slayton and Sterling Shepard, they can be good receivers. It's just, they're both, Sterling Shepard, he's been in the league since 2016, I guess. He should be a little bit better than what he is. But Darius Slayton, he got drafted in 2019. I think he has the potential to be a really good receiver, a top 10 receiver. But Daniel Jones just has to get him the ball. He's got to make great decisions when throwing the ball. And you see the number one receiver on this team only had 3 touchdowns. That's not very good. For a 16 game, he played all 16 games and he had 3 receiving touchdowns.
They had 12 total receiving touchdowns versus 11 total interceptions for the other team. So they threw 11 interceptions as a team, and they only had 12 receiving touchdowns as a team. Rushing wise, they had 13. So you're looking at a 25-to-11 ratio. Yeah, I'm looking at.
You got to think of the fumbles lost too here.
Yeah, no, I'm seeing that too.
25-14, they lost 3 fumbles. Yeah. That's not a very good touchdown to turnover ratio, personally. But
when you look at all this, kind of what we've mentioned, with some of the names they have, again, it goes back to like it was in Washington. With some of the names they have, they still did pretty good for what they had this year. They still got to bump it up. They still got to get better. They got to get those bigger names. And maybe the new coach is going to help them with that. But, with what little talent they had, they didn't do terrible. But, again, they also had, the football team with injuries. They had the Cowboys with injuries. They had the Eagles that were just a dumpster fire at the NFC East.
Yeah. Within the division-wise, they didn't do terrible. They still had a shot to win it. But in regards to the rest of the NFL, it's like 6-10. Are you serious?
They went 4-10 in their own division. That's good. If you can win a majority of games in your division, that's good.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they started out losing 5 straight games, and then they managed to pull out a 6-10 record. It's not the greatest, but it was a decent comeback in the second half of the season because they started out 1-7. So
yeah, I think the big thing here is you don't go out and spend big money in free agency. You get good role players. You get good people that can fit your roster and that can fit it totally. And then you got to hit on your picks. I know that's easier said than done, but you've got you literally pick at number 11 this year. You got the Cowboys who pick 10 in front of you, the Eagles who pick 6 in front of you. So not only are you getting better, the people behind you are getting better. And, you still got to catch the football team, and they pick 19. So that's not a huge talent gap. So you've got to hit on your picks here.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's something, like I said, I know it's easier said than done, and I know we, you and I, we aren't professionals. We don't get paid for this, but I know you're just like me. You love watching college football prospects coming up. You love diving deep into like the numbers and the stats and mock drafts and everything. Like that's something you and I spend hours talking about sometimes.
Oh yeah, for sure. I just like to basically take a look at who my team has the potential to take in and whether I like it or not, or well they'll just completely butcher that and take a quarterback. It is what it is.
Still salty about that, are you?
not salty about that at all.
But like I don't know. The Giants, like I said, maybe you're right. Maybe they do need to move on from Daniel Jones. I still think you give him one more year. He's on that rookie contract. So it is what it is. He almost threw for 3,000 yards. That's pretty good. I think if you get it, Saquon coming back is going to be huge for them. I think if you work on the offensive line or you work on wide receiver, and please, for the love of God, work on that defense because that's just bad. I think this is a team that, again, this is one of those teams you want to see progress from. And that's something I'm going to preach with this entire division. You just want to see progress at this point.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I could throw a GIF of that traditional dumpster fire and put the NFC East on it, and it would it'd be just as justifiable as this entire podcast episode would be. And trust me, I understand dumpster fires. I'm a Dolphins fan. Have you seen the rotation of quarterbacks you've had? We're nearing Browns level. Okay, it's we may actually be worse than the Browns in some cases on that.
Yeah.
But just patience is all I'll preach for this entire NFC East. Unless you're the Cowboys, in which case I'm telling you, hit the panic alarm, which we'll get to them here in a bit. Do you have any more final thoughts on the Giants?
Yeah. You said that Daniel Jones, he's taking a step forward, like he needs to progress. I mean, but compared to his 2019 campaign, he played 13 games. He threw for just over 3,000 yards and 24 touchdowns to 12 picks. So a 2-to-1 ratio there. I mean, I'm not sure what happened between 19 and 20 to not only him playing one less game, but throwing just, it seems like, roughly 70 more or less yards and 13 less touchdowns and almost as many interceptions. I mean, I don't know what happened to him mentally, or if it just this COVID pandemic kind of hindered his practice, or I don't know. I just if he continues to regress in 2021 and he does not play well and the Giants don't win, I think maybe by week 8 you're thinking, well, is Daniel Jones the guy for us? And he might come out and play and throw for 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns and like 7 interceptions. And if he does, then I mean, I'm all for it. I root for the guy. I mean, don't get me wrong, but he needs to prove himself in this next season to stay in New York. I personally believe.
To me, I'm looking at this now. Obviously, he's only played 2019, 2020. He's been sacked 83 times in 2 years. My God, I mean, guys.
That is a lot, yeah.
Look at what happened to Andrew Luck. He didn't have an offensive line, and he's not even in the league anymore. You've got to protect your quarterback, and you know what happens if you protect your quarterback with offensive line? That's going to open up the game for Saquon Barkley, too. I feel like that's why you saw his touchdown totals drop from 24 to 11 from 2019 to 2020, because you took away the red zone threat of a play action option from Saquon. I truly do believe that, because he went lower in interceptions. His completion percentage actually went up. His average yards per throw still stayed at 6.6, and he only threw for I'm looking at this. It's like 80 yards less.
Yeah, 70 to 80, something like that. Yeah.
And he played in one more game. So I like I said, I think the missing of Saquon really hurt them. Please, for the love of God, Giants, pick offensive line. I know I said please, but the dude cannot be sacked, because he's probably going to be into the hundreds of being sacked in 3 years.
Oh, yeah.
That's unacceptable.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, if they don't pick at least 2 offensive linemen within the first 3 rounds, I mean, he's going down probably another 30 times.
Oh,
at least.
I think he'll go down about another 4. I think he'll be about 40 sacks this year, and maybe I'm overreacting on the sack total, because I haven't looked. I'm just now looking at these sack totals, and which is a shame because I love my analytics. But let me just take a look at say the Cowboys here real quick on their sack totals. They were sacked 44 times.
Well, I mean, you take a look at, because you heard that all year long, Green Bay's offensive line played great. I mean, it played just great. And Aaron Rodgers, 20 sacks. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's pretty good in the NFL, I think.
Yeah.
Only getting sacked 20 times with the defenses that he played in the NFC and some in the AFC. I mean, that's not a lot of times getting sacked.
I mean, like, here's a stat for you. Dak Prescott, a guy in the league here, in his career so far has only been sacked 146 times, and he's been playing since 2016. I mean, Daniel Jones is on pace to be there by a year and a half from now.
Well, yeah, but you got to think Dak only played 3 years and 4 games, I think, is when he got hurt. So he's got 12 less games in that 4-year span.
He's played 69 games, in 5 years. Full year in 2016, full year 2017, full year 2018, and full year in 2019, and then just the injury this year.
Yeah. Yeah, Daniel Jones hasn't played a full season yet. So.
Yeah. But again, whenever you're not being protected by your offensive line, that's going to happen. Invest. Oh, yeah. You got to invest in your quarterback here, and investing in your quarterback means protecting him. So I think we've kind of answered the question on what the Giants need. Like I said, and there's going to be offensive linemen to go get. I know Giants fans are probably concerned, like they don't want to go out and get another Nate Solder. I'm not saying you can go out and get another Nate Solder, because that looks terrible. But if you go and just draft quality, decent, non-sexy, offensive linemen, go do it. That's what you need.
Yeah, you don't need top-tier, best offensive linemen out there. You just need solid guys who can actually do their job.
Yeah.
I mean, and offensive linemen, they're going to give up sacks. That's just a part of the game. I mean, you just want people who will block and not give them up more than they will give them up,
Yeah, I'm just saying, please don't let your quarterback be sacked 83 times in 2 seasons. Even Colt McCoy in 4 games was sacked 5 times.
That's like 1.1 a game.
Yeah, that's, again, and when your team, as a team, only, has, I mean, they had 40 sacks. That's not bad, but you're still being out-sacked.
Yeah.
So work on defense, work on your offensive line. I feel like I'm just beating that dead horse on that for this team.
And pay attention to Jones.
Yeah, I said,
just keep an eye on him. That's all you got to do.
No, absolutely. I still think like Jones is going to be a good quarterback. Is he going to be this top tier elite quarterback? Yeah, probably not. But that's okay. You've got a franchise running back as long as he stays healthy and this doesn't completely ruin him of this injury. You can go out and get some decent wide receivers, and I love Eli Manning, but was he ever a truly elite quarterback? No.
Nah, he was a middle-of-the-road quarterback.
But when you got guys like Michael Strahan, and you've got a good offensive line, and you've got people that are making helmet catches and shit,
David Tyree.
Yeah, I mean, the Giants are the perfect prototypical. You don't need an elite quarterback to win the game. You just need a quarterback who is passable. And somehow Eli Manning will go into the Hall of Fame as an above-average quarterback.
Well, it's because he beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl twice. I mean, just
think
about it.
Twice!
If we don't have Eli Manning and Nick Foles in the world, Tom Brady wins the Super Bowl 10 times, more than likely. I mean, jeez.
I'm getting sad talking about this. Let's make other people sad, and let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys here.
All right.
Oof. Guys, Cowboys fans, are you okay? Do I need to check on you? I'm not. I've met a lot of arrogant Cowboy fans in my day. So I'm sorry if I'm a little harsh on the Cowboys. I'll try and take my bias glasses off. The Cowboys are a team that just shit went south. Those, anything that could go wrong will go wrong. Zeke was not Zeke. He fumbled a lot. 5 fumbles this year.
Zeke hasn't been Zeke in 2 years.
Of course, Dak. I'm a big Dak believer. I don't think he's an elite top-tier quarterback, but again, he's one of those. He's a good to possibly great quarterback. I'm very specific with my terms of good to great. So I think if you're a good quarterback, you're a top 15 quarterback in the league. But he got hurt early. That hurts. Zeke not being himself, but man, that wide receiving core is probably the deadliest in the NFL, in my opinion. And that's even me looking at Kansas City going, yeah, that's pretty good, but Amari Cooper, stud. CeeDee Lamb, going to be a stud. Michael Gallup, a great slot guy. They can get a good, really good tight end. I know Dalton Schultz was pretty good this year, but imagine if they had if they had like a Travis Kelce type, No, I'm not saying it has to be like a Travis Kelce, but like a top 10, top 15 tight end, a Mike Gesicki type.
Yeah.
I think having Dak back next year is going to be a big boost for them. And please, Jerry Jones, for the love of God, just pay the man his money.
See, I personally disagree that Dak will. I mean, Dak, yes, will in turn give them a few more wins. But, I mean, looking at it here, week 1, they lost. Week 2, they should have lost. But they somehow squeaked it out against the choking Atlanta Falcons. Sorry, Atlanta Falcons fans. But
sorry, Atlanta in general, dude.
I mean, yeah. And then week 3, Seattle, they lost. Week 4, Cleveland, they lost. And week 5, when Dak got hurt, they won by 3. I mean, they should have been realistically, they should have been 0-4 with Dak starting at quarterback. And week 5, I didn't watch that game. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how that really played out. But I mean, you got Dak throwing for 500 yards in week 4, 472 in week 3, 450 in week 2, and then an average 266 in week 1. Mm-hmm. Dak was doing his job. He was getting them down the field scoring points. But it's the defense that's the problem for the Cowboys.
Yes.
They need to really focus on their secondary and their linebacking core to really solidify themselves as an actual contender in the NFC. Because, I mean, they gave up, a measly 20 in week 1, but then they give up 39 with a squeak-out win in week 2, 38 in a loss in week 3, and 49 in a week 4 loss to none other than the Cleveland Browns. I mean, you give up almost 50 to the Cleveland Browns. That's a little embarrassing. I don't care if they went to the playoffs or not. They've been garbage for years.
I mean, the lowest point total they gave up as a team was 7 to the Cincinnati Bengals. And correct me if I'm wrong, I don't even think they had Joe Burrow in there at that time.
Yeah, that was no, because I think Joe Burrow got hurt when they played Washington. If I'm not wrong. So I don't think Joe Burrow was in there, and that could have been the week after Joe Burrow got hurt.
But
personally,
it's like you mentioned, you go up to week 5. I mean, those games are 20-17. I don't remember how that game ended. It could have been a last-second field goal, but it is something one way or the other goes right there. That's a win. Now you're 2-0 when you go face Atlanta. At a 40-39, which Atlanta, oh my God, I'm so sorry. A 7-point loss to Seattle. Seattle was really running it at that point too, I feel. An 11-point loss to Cleveland. That's not great. Your defense needs to do better, but that was a shootout. They
gave up, I think, 45 in the first half, if I'm not mistaken.
So, I mean, you look at it, potentially you're looking at like a 3-2 versus a 2-3, or maybe even a 4-1 record if things go more your way, and that changes your outlook on the season because once Dak gets hurt, that's when they really started that gap differential of points went away. You lose by 28, you lose by 22, you lose that gap, and then like you win against Minnesota, which that's actually surprising to me because it's not. Minnesota was bad last year besides Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook. But then you give up 41 points to the football team in week 12. 41 points you score against San Francisco, but I mean, come on, guys. I'm with you. I think I think they need to work on their defense because they gave up 44 sacks, and that's with people saying that their offensive line was garbage this year. They had injuries this year on their offensive line all throughout the year, and they still gave up only 44 sacks.
Yeah, 44 is a little high also, but
it is.
I guess it could be. I'm with you. I'm not really sure what the middle of the road for sacks is. I just kind of based 44 off of the 20 I saw in Green Bay, but you gotta look here with Dak Prescott with the 5 games that he played, or 4.5 really, that he played. He was 300 yards behind Andy Dalton, who played 11 games. He was balling. I think if Dak Prescott stayed healthy, he could have thrown for 5,500 passing yards. at that pace, he was doing really good. And I mean, it's just a matter of could he have kept that up all season and even potentially kept his team in games where his defense was giving up 30, 35, 40 points a game. I mean, that's just, as a quarterback, that's really hard to do. And trust me, I know.
Sorry, we were talking about trying to figure out stats, and I almost threw up in my mouth here a little bit. So looking at the bottom 7 teams in the NFL, the bottom 7, the entire NFC East is in that bottom 7.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they were garbage.
In fact, the worst team gave up 65 sacks.
Holy cow.
We'll get there. We'll get there. Trust me. People. Like, I'm looking at middle of the road, anywhere between, like, you know, the Steelers led the league with 14 giving up sacks. That's great. 21 by the Colts and Packers, 22 by the Bucks. You know, you're looking at middle of the road is anywhere between high 20s to mid 30s.
And that's what I had thought.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I considered. But, okay. So, yeah, no, 44 is bad. They had a lot of injuries, I know. But, yeah, no, I think if Dak's in this year, I think they easily win this division. I really do. To me, Dak is... He's underrated, but he's overrated. The Cowboys underrate him, but the rest of the league overrates him.
Yeah.
Again, he's good to borderline great quarterback. He can help you because he doesn't make a lot of boneheaded mistakes, you know, and he can get rid of the ball, you know. I know the stats here are going to kind of say otherwise for me because in 5 games played, he had 10 sacks, and he had 4 interceptions in those games, but he also almost threw for 2,000 yards in 5 games, 1858 in 5 games. That's really good.
I mean, it is really good, but I mean, you can have a great quarterback throwing for 6,000 yards a season, but if you don't have a defense, you ain't going nowhere.
No, and I think that's where you and I both agree is that they need to work on their defense. And in fact, was it Carolina that last year picked all defense?
I don't remember.
I think so. I think Carolina, their entire draft last year was nothing but defense. Hey, Dallas, you saw what they did? Do it again. Do it this year. All defense.
But that didn't help them get to the playoffs.
No, it didn't. But who's handing a hurt Christian McCaffrey the ball out there?
I mean, hey, if the Panthers call me up, I'll go get hit. I mean, you just pay me a couple $1 million, I'll get hit a few times.
I mean, let's take a look at their defense here. You got Jalen Smith, Leighton Vander Esch, DeMarcus Lawrence. The cornerbacks aren't the greatest. I know everyone's like, oh, Trevon Diggs is good. Xavier Woods is good. Donovan, no, shut up.
I think Trevon Diggs can be good. If he can be, but he's just got to put the time in. I think he can be good.
Look at their pass deflections. Trevon Diggs is probably their best cornerback. 14 pass deflected, 3 interceptions. As to where Jalen Smith, a linebacker, had 5. You know, Chidobe Awuzie had 5. You know, and then you go to 3s and 2s. That's not good. You need a better cornerback to help with Trevon Diggs on that outside. So, hello, Cowboys, looking at you with your 10th overall pick. BPA, best player available.
What happened to Sean Lee and Everson Griffin? Why did they play 7 and 9 games? Did they get hurt?
I think Sean Lee got hurt because that's kind of his thing. Everson Griffin, I'm not sure what happened to him.
Huh. I didn't even realize that.
So, but like I know the Cowboys, they had a lot of injuries this year.
Yeah, for sure. They did.
And I'm not going to make excuses because this entire division was just injured to all hell. But to me, they had probably either the first or second biggest injury with Dak Prescott. It's debatable on whether you want to say he was the biggest injury compared to Saquon or whether he's the second biggest injury to Saquon. To me, I think I'm going to give it more towards Dak because the quarterback position is a little bit more valuable than it is running back.
Yeah. I think the Dak Prescott injury hurt the Cowboys as a team more than the Saquon Barkley injury hurt the Giants as a team.
Well, and Dak's the leader. You can tell. You can tell by the way he's on the sideline. Should we talk about the coach?
No, I don't like him very much.
Yeah, he should have. He should be fired. I'll say it.
Well, I think you should give him a year with Dak Prescott, see what happens. But I don't think he hired the right people, especially the defensive coordinator. I think he made a horrendous choice in who he hired there, and I don't even know who it is, but wasn't a very good one.
I think what Jerry Jones saw was, oh, this guy used to coach Aaron Rodgers, which means he made Aaron Rodgers. I want an Aaron Rodgers.
No.
But I don't know. I'm not going to take much away from Mike McCarthy because he is a Super Bowl winner. Whether he won that on the back of A-Rod or not is debatable.
I don't think it really is.
But, maybe you're right. Maybe give him another year at Dak. Maybe something happens there. I feel like you should probably start looking for a new coach this year. You need to clean out the entire roster of, well, not the roster, the entire staff from defensive and offensive coordinator on. But that's going to be hard on a lot of people. At least they got rid of the clapper, They're not, come on, let's go,
Yeah.
But, like I said, I do want to highlight some good things here. I know we've been kind of bashing on the them, but, I thought Andy Dalton coming in was great for them this year. CeeDee Lamb exceeded my expectations. Michael Gallup was a pretty good surprise. Amari Cooper showing why he got that contract.
Yeah. For sure. 92 receptions, 1,100 yards.
Zeke almost had 1,000 yards. If he doesn't have 5 fumbles, I bet you he gets 1,000 yards. His longest was 31.
That's not very good.
No, but he's one of those. I mean, his average is 4 yards a carry, which is, you figure you're handing the ball on 3 downs, 4 yards, you're getting a first down each time. So
you're not wrong. Yeah, for sure.
I think missing, because eventually what happened is, again, Zeke is no Derrick Henry. So whenever Dak went down, okay, well, if we just blitz on you, Andy Dalton's going to panic because your injured offensive line isn't going to stop us, and the offensive line isn't going to open up as many holes for Zeke, and so we can just stack the box against Zeke and double coverage on your wide receivers, and what are you going to do?
See, that's the thing, though. I think Zeke can be a Derrick Henry-esque player, but he, for whatever reason, the last 2.5 years have fallen off, and I don't quite understand what happened to basically cause him to fall off like he has. Because he in 2016 he played 15 games, rushed for 1,600 yards the year he got drafted. 2017 he played in 10 games. He had an injury, but he still rushed for 983. 2018 bounced back, rushed for 1,400 yards. 2019 rushed for 1,300 yards. Like what happened between 19 and 20? Kind of the same situation with Daniel Jones. Like, was it COVID? Like, did that affect his practicing and his basically just getting ready for games and his routine? Like, did that all get messed up? It's like, I'm not sure what caused him to have a fall off. But if looking at this, 2016, 2018, and 2019 all had him have attempts over 300 yards. And 2017, when he played 10 games, he had 200 attempts over carries at 300. Sorry. But 2017, he got hurt, played 10 games. He had 242. But he played in 15 this year, and he only had 244 attempts. So, like, what happened within was it Mike McCarthy who just doesn't like to run the ball? Was it Zeke himself? The 5 fumbles, maybe, but in 2018 he had
first year and 6
he had
18.
5 his first year. Yeah. So he's got 20 career fumbles. He's lost 9 of them. I just don't see why he could have fallen off a cliff as bad as he did.
But I think it's a mixture of Mike McCarthy's stubbornness on only wanting to throw the ball. He is an air raid type coach, I feel. And, maybe he did have, Maybe COVID did affect him. Maybe not having, the ability of Dak being able to run the ball as well. There's multiple factors that could happen there.
Yeah.
So I think you're gonna look at 2020 for Zeke, and you're gonna write it off as like a one-off bad year. The fact that he had more yards in 10 games when he got hurt in 2017. I don't think this is the fall of Zeke that everyone's talking about. I think this is just a bad year. I mean, everyone's gonna have no one's gonna have a career year every year. You're gonna have these bad years. I think. I think this is going to put a chip on Zeke's shoulder, and he's just going to come up with the fire out of his ass, and I think he's going to be pissed and run like he's pissed.
Well, and if he does that, the rest of the league better watch out. But you brought up Mike McCarthy being an air raid type coach. Week 1, Dak Prescott threw 39 times. Week 2, 47. Week 3, 57. Week 4, 58. And before he got hurt, he attempted 21 passes in Week 5. I mean, that is a crazy amount of passes in just 5 games. Well, and 4.5.
You look at, and the numbers probably are the same for Andy Dalton because he had 333 attempts this season. That's in 11 games.
A lot.
So, I think a lot of Zeke's issues with the numbers are, McCarthy's like, oh, we got to we can't run the ball. Running the ball is for only when you're within the 5-yard line,
Yeah.
You've got Zeke. Goodness. What you do is you feed Zeke and you thrive off that playoff, the play action, so you can throw to Amari Cooper, CD Lamb, Michael Gallup. You've got all these weapons. Use all these weapons. Don't just stick to one formula. Use everything. Balance the attack.
Yeah. It's easier said than done, apparently.
No, absolutely. That's why we're sitting here with mics in front of our faces talking about it instead of actually going out and doing it. Because it's easier to sit here and be an armchair coach or armchair GM, and be like, rah, versus, actually going out and doing it. Well, we could be talking out of our ass for all we know. Maybe McCarthy saw something in practice and was just like, oh, no, maybe he's just not, he's just not himself, or maybe I'm not impressed with him. I don't know why you wouldn't be. The dude is kind of built like a brick shit house, but
yeah, but
again,
I don't know.
He's the coach. He sees them all the time.
Only time will.
Yeah, no, for sure. And
only time will tell with this team.
Overall, as a season review, I guess this is. Where they're sitting in the standings in the East, the second is probably as disappointed as the team as they are, is the second most disappointing team. I had this team winning the division, and then Dak went down, and I went, well, there goes that. They're going to just implode. And I didn't think it was going to be this bad of an implosion, but they still finished tied for second without Dak.
Yeah, but again, I'm not so sure that they would have won anyways, because of their defensive issues.
No,
Dak, yes, he would have given them more of a fighting chance in those blowout losses, but the defense is where they struggled at the most, and that was the issue.
So Jerry, if you're listening to this, please hire us as GMs. We will gladly come and help you win another Super Bowl. Which, can we talk about how, I'm sorry, I'm going to get on a rant about how I don't like Cowboy fans a whole lot. Like the arrogant ones. There's a few out there I've met that are actually nice. But the ones that thump their chest talking about America's team, you're no longer America's team.
Yeah, I don't. Why would America's team want to be a team that hasn't been to the Super Bowl in almost 30 years? It's so America's team is just a team that loses all the time?
But anyway, we'll get off them. They had a rough year. But no, I still think the Cowboys are a good team. I think they're going to be back next year. I think they win the East next year. But fix the defense. Maybe your offensive line comes back healthier. You've got one of the best offensive lines in football when it's healthy. And just, again, balance the attack. That's all I'll say on that. I've got nothing else to say.
Yeah. Yeah, let's move on from...
Okay, so let's move to the final team in this division. My God, this team is... we're at 54 minutes in this recording right now. We could probably do another 54 minutes just on the Eagles.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at the Eagles' stats here. Obviously, they went 4-11-1. They had a tie, the rare elusive tie. But Chris, take a look at their sack total.
65.
Carson Wentz had 50 sacks on him. Now, is that a product of Carson Wentz holding the ball, or is that a product of your guys' line is garbage? I don't know.
Well, see, when your offensive line just stands there and watches 4 people come after Carson Wentz, I mean, he's going to get sacked 50 times.
And it might also be because who's getting open for him. I mean, Jalen Reagor was supposed to be really good, but he got hurt for a little bit, and he didn't even break 400 yards receiving. So you had Travis Fulgham, who had 530. I know. It seems like every year the Eagles will draft a wide receiver, and that wide receiver is just awful. And I'm trying not to swear as much because I don't know if this podcast is going to be family friendly or not, but this wide receiving core is shit. I'm just going to say it.
Yeah, I mean, they brought back Deshaun Jackson, and it's...
and they just released him. They just released Deshaun Jackson.
Yeah, they released him. He only played 5 games. I mean,
that's not even the biggest move they did.
Receptions for... Yeah, no, I mean, Carson Wentz...
Should we talk about that?
No longer a Philadelphia Eagle. Yeah, he went to the Indianapolis Colts. Which, I mean, they got a better offensive line, so we'll see how he performs out there. But I don't know.
You watch. The Colts will win, and we'll talk about this in the AFC South preview. They'll win the division next year.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically being handed to him with Deshaun Watson not wanting to play in Houston.
Yeah, we'll get to that too. That's going to be a fun episode. But no, I mean, the Eagles, just a rough year, man. I think you guys got a good running back. It's a shame Miles Sanders was hurt because I think he would have broke 1,000 yards rushing. Boston Scott, I'm surprised he didn't get more attempts at rushing. He only had 80 attempts, but he had 374 yards. That's pretty damn good.
Yeah, 4.7 on the average. Not terrible.
You know, so maybe with Jalen Hurts, you can do a little bit more creative stuff. Oh, my God. You know, you guys need to figure out what you're going to do with Zach Ertz. I don't know what happened to him last year.
If I had to speculate, I think Zach Ertz is going to be released to help with cap.
That's a very possible idea because, you got Dallas Goedert now. Obviously, whenever he was drafted, they kind of went, hey, here's your replacement. Train him.
Essentially, yeah.
I think Ertz going to a place like Green Bay is very plausible. But again,
I don't want washed up tight ends. I mean, we've already dealt with that. Come on.
But no, I think the story for the Eagles this year, I mean, obviously they're going to have a new coach. Doug Peterson's out. So that's going to be a massive change for them. So this is going to be the big question mark team, I feel like, in this division this year. You can only go up. Their defense, if I remember correctly, was not good at all. Let's see. They had 8 interceptions.
Oh, my.
For sacks, they had 49 sacks. You had Brandon Graham, who had 8. Fletcher Cox, always reliable, who had 6.5. Josh Sweat, who had 6. Derek Barnett, who had 5.5. Hargrave, who had 4.5. And then you just kind of keep going down there. But when you look at their interceptions, they only had 8. And there's a guy who had 2 of them. And then you had
Marcus Epps. I don't even know who that guy is.
You had 3 linebackers with 1 of them. When your cornerbacks combined for 1 interception with big play Slay, yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, I think they're kind of in the same boat as Dallas here. They need to bolster that secondary, otherwise they're just gonna not go anywhere.
Pass deflected. They had 7 from their safety. They had 6 from Slay, 4 from Eaps, 3 from Mills, 3 from Michael Jacquet, 3 from Avonte Maddox. But yeah, no, not. You need to kind of, like we said, work on the defensive end of the football there. So you need defense. So you need cornerbacks and you need wide receivers. Maybe what you need to do is flip them. Put your wide receivers at cornerbacks because they can't catch anything, but boy, can they hit everything. And then maybe get your cornerbacks. I don't know, guys, with the Eagles. I was shocked when they traded Carson Wentz. I actually didn't think they would do it.
I wasn't.
I thought that maybe they would have gotten a little bit more for him. I think they could have.
Yeah, what was it? Like a third and a second, but can be a first?
Yes. And you know what? Maybe it was hey, Carson, this isn't working out for us. Where would you like to go? And he goes, I want to go back to Frank Reich. And they went, sure, here we go, Maybe it was like a goodwill thing. I won't put it past that. I have no clue the inner workings there. But maybe that's what happened there. But, I mean, it's hard telling.
I mean, really, only time will really tell who won the trade. Because in this situation, you can't really declare a clear winner of this trade. Because, it's either you get great quarterback play out of Carson Wentz and the Colts go to the playoffs and make a run, or you get horrible injury-riddled Carson Wentz and the Colts suck and they just continue to suck and the Eagles get a first and a third-round pick out of this. Depends on what the Eagles do with that potential first-round pick too.
If anyone's going to go big game hunting in the offseason for a wide receiver, it's probably going to be the Eagles. I could see them going after a Juju Smith-Schuster type. Maybe I see them even go bigger game hunting.
Let him go.
Maybe I see them because, the rumors of OBJ being on the trade block. Maybe they go out and get OBJ.
Bring him back to the NFC East.
That's a possibility. But
man, if he just wouldn't be a diva. Oh, my goodness. He could be so good.
But, obviously you got to work on the wide receiving core. When your tight end is 15 yards away from tying your wide receiver and he plays 2 less games.
Yeah, that's a little bit embarrassing.
And he has 2 less targets than the guy who, he had more receptions, but he had 2 less targets and had 15 less yards. You guys need to work on that. I think the big thing was getting rid of Doug Peterson. I think, Eagles fans, I'm glad you guys got that Super Bowl to hold on to because it's going to be a rough, wild ride for a little bit.
See, I don't personally think that Doug Peterson was the problem. They got a Super Bowl, 3 years ago?
Yep.
And not a whole lot can change in your coaching aspect within 3 years. I don't think. You look at freaking Bill Belichick, for example. That dude coached. If you got decent players, you can coach you to the playoffs every year, and that's what Doug Peterson did. He coached them to the playoffs every year, except for this one. I think. Am I wrong on that?
I think you're right on that. I think they either made the wild card round or stuff like that for the past few years.
I don't think it was necessarily the right decision to get rid of Doug Peterson, and I think the ultimate deciding factor as to why they did is when they pulled Jalen Hurts out of the game for Nate Sudfeld in Week 17. I don't know why he did it. I'll never know why he did it. Maybe just to spite the Giants and say, you're not going to the playoffs. Sorry. I don't.
Yeah, they made the playoffs 17,
I'm not
18,
sure.
19.
Yeah.
Maybe you're right. Maybe Doug Pearson wasn't the issue, or maybe he lost the locker room. We get reports of that all the time of people who have lost the locker room. So who knows? Like I said, I think this is the biggest question mark team this year. Kind of looking at their schedule for 2021. It's not available, so I don't know why I'm looking at it. But, who knows, man? And they had a really tough schedule this year. You face Washington and you lose to them. You face the Rams, you lost to them. You tie with the Bengals, which, oof, that's when the warning sign should have gone off. But then you play Pittsburgh and you play Baltimore and you play Cleveland, who was pretty good this year. You play Seattle, you play Green Bay, you play New Orleans. That's a murderous schedule you had to face up against too.
Yeah, it wasn't an easy schedule by any stretch of the imagination. But I think if there's decent play on both sides of the football, this team could have gone at least 8-8.
Yeah.
there's, I mean, with how their division played out, I mean, really, they could have swept the entire division, and because they didn't play the Cowboys until week 8. So I mean, I just don't understand what went wrong from last year to this year.
And
it just.
I'm just looking at, they really need to work on their wide receiving core. You need people to catch the ball, and that's been an issue for the Eagles for a while now, I feel.
Yeah. When there's some people in the top, I guess you got 3 tight ends in the top 6 for receiving yards. That's not good.
Yeah. So obviously, I would go wide receiver heavy this year. And I know they've been doing that for a while now, it feels like. But, you go wide receiver, even go big game hunting in the offseason to do that. Because you got a good running back. Jalen Hurts, this is going to be put on your big boy pants. Let's see what you got this year. Please fix your offensive line. Oh, good God.
It's more of the offensive line that needs to be needs to be worked on more than anything. And I think, honestly, they can develop and or pick up receivers in free agency. Mm-hmm. I think that they really need to focus on defense because they were the worst team in differential in the division and probably even in the whole league. Nope, Jacksonville. Oh, nope, the Jets. I forgot about them. But they were the 3rd worst. Or no. I was looking at the wrong one. But they were still not very good in point differential. Mm-hmm. They were last in their division, and they're probably bottom 7, 6, if I had to guess, in the league. So you got to really work on your defense, too. And I think it's the secondary, really. I think you got a decent defensive line and some okay linebackers. But if you got your cornerbacks not making plays, you got one that has 1 interception all year, I think, it's just you need to make some moves and get some better secondary help.
Yeah, better defense, better offensive line. Like I said, when I said Eagles fans, hold on, this is going to be a wild ride. It's because this is going to take time. You can't fix this in a draft. You can't fix this in 2 drafts. Maybe 2 drafts and 2 free agencies, but you have to really do solid in that. But don't give up, You guys are going to be eating a lot of dead cap. I think it's like $38.8 million with Carson Wentz not being on your roster. That's almost $40 million you can't use. I know I've got some Eagles
That's enough to sign like 2 decent players.
Yeah. I know a lot of people are trying to call for, Howie Roseman's head and everything. Maybe the GM is at fault there. Who knows? Just enjoy your Super Bowl win, really. That's the best I can tell you. So I don't really have much more on the Eagles. Do you, Chris?
Not really. Just sorry for the next couple of years that you guys are going to have to endure.
Yeah. So the way I want to close out our NFC East is I want to go through. I want to give a positive a positive of the season, a negative of the season, and then a grade on the season for these guys because these are more season recaps. We'll do season previews, and after we do this, I'll tell you kind of our schedule going forward. That way you guys kind of know what to expect from us. So I'll start off here. A positive for Washington, you weren't last. You went to the playoffs. You looked good. A negative on the season, you need to work on that offense of catching abilities. As for a grade, for what they were, I'm giving them a B on kind of what they had. I mean, was anyone expecting a 7-9 season with a playoff game and keeping that playoff game fairly close? No, so I'm giving them a B. And I'm sure that's more than generous because they had some help getting there. But when they got there, they knew what to do.
Yeah. I guess my positive for them is they made the playoffs. They kept it close. I think that's the most important thing. They got a good defense, and as the year went on, their team, I think their defense was great to start the year, but as an offense, I think they got better. So I think that's a positive that they've got the playoffs. They kept that game close, which I don't think hardly anybody expected them to do. A negative would be, the quarterback situation. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're releasing Dwayne Haskins. You just got to figure that out and get some more weapons on offense. Maybe get a better stud running back. I'm not sure who their real stud running back even is.
They don't really have one.
Yeah, I guess they had Antonio
Gibson was pretty good.
I'm not sure that he's the main back that they want to use moving forward. But yeah, I think their negative was their receiving. I mean, they had Terry McLaurin, but other than that, it was just kind of a drop off. Overall grade, I'll give them a B minus.
Okay.
Yeah, mainly for the fact that yes, they went to the playoffs. They kept it close, but I think a B minus is fair.
Yeah.
And I think that they have the potential to come back and match their record for next year. Now, whether that's playoff potential bound or not depends on the rest of the division. But I think they have at least the potential to come back and match a 7-9 record next season.
Yeah. So on to the Giants. I guess for me, a positive for them would be, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a good positive for them. You kept it close for really no talent is the best way to put it. You kept it close without having Saquon. That's a big plus for me. The negative is that defense, man. That defense is bad. That defense, I'm noticing a trend in this East. Is the NFC East just the Big 12, where they don't have defense?
I mean, essentially, yeah.
For a grade, I'm going to give them a C minus. I had a little bit higher expectations from Daniel Jones. I thought maybe Evan Ingram would have a better year. I thought maybe their wide receivers overall would have a better year. Obviously, Saquon not being there hurts them. So I'm going to give them a C minus, yeah.
Yeah. For the positives, I'm not sure there are too many, but
which is crazy to think about with a team that is placing second in their division. I understand it's the Trash Master division, but
yeah, I don't really know. I mean, I guess the positives would be your linebacking core on defense. You got Blake Martinez, who's just a stud, essentially, and
your dogs do not like.
Yeah,
that
I mean, I guess not. I apologize for that. I'm not sure why they got all riled up.
I think they're Giants fans and they don't know it.
Yeah, I don't see much positives out of this team, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and that's why
I don't. I think they need to focus on Daniel Jones, make sure he can play the quarterback position, and if they can't, move on from him as soon as possible. Either get a new quarterback or get some new receivers to help Daniel Jones. I don't know, because I think Darius Slayton can be a good receiver. I think he can. Mm-hmm. Evan Ingram has been a good tight end. I don't know what happened to him. I still can't believe he got a Pro Bowl over Robert Tonyan. But
yeah,
whatever. It is what it is. I just don't see a whole lot of positives. I see a lot of negatives with. I mean, yeah, it sucks that they lost Saquon early in the year, but I mean, none of the receivers had over 800 yards. I mean, their defense wasn't playing good. It's just the running game, obviously with Saquon being gone, was not good. Daniel Jones didn't play well. Played all right, but not well. But just a whole lot of negatives, not a whole lot of positives. I think for this team, I'm going to give them a C, because this is right around the middle of the road where I expected him to be, so I wasn't too surprised. Obviously, the Saquon injury surprised us, and that affected their record a little bit, I believe, but I think a C grade is about what I'd give them.
Okay. Now I'll let you start off with the Cowboys. And I'll let you do the Cowboys and Eagles first, since I did the the football team and the Giants first. So I'll let you do that first.
Alrighty. For the Cowboys, I guess the positive is you got good quarterback play out of Andy Dalton. So you can rely on him being a decent backup. Amari Cooper, still a bright spot. You got CeeDee Lamb, who emerged. He's going to be a bright spot. You got Michael Gallup, going to be another bright spot. Dalton Schultz. I think you guys have a great receiving core. I think, I mean, yeah, it was a sucky season, and your defense. Yeah, those were my positives: the quarterback play and receivers. Negative, the defense by far. I mean, that defense gave up way too many points every week. It seemed like, and they didn't play well. It was just horrible defensive play. Personally, I think a negative was Ezekiel Elliott. I mean, yes, he led the team in yards, but he fumbled 5 times. He was not himself, it seemed like, all season. Seemed like he'd be calling himself out of the lineup more and more. I would just like to see more production out of Zeke, because we've seen it before. He can do it. And, yeah, I mean, defense and Zeke are my negatives, to be honest with you. And I give him – I don't really know what to give him because of Dak's injury. But I'm going to give him a C-. I didn't expect them to be at this record, but with the Dak injury, I understand. So my grade is a C-.
Okay. For me, I have pauses I've written down. That receiving core, though? ? Yeah. No, that receiving core is pretty solid. You can't really ask for a better core than that. Negatives, I'm going with the defense is the biggest negative to me. Yeah, you could throw Zeke underneath the bus, but I'm putting that as like a write-off year. But that defense was just atrocious, you know. And as for the D, Chris, I'm kind of as for the grade, Chris, I'm kind of sad you didn't get this. I'm giving him a D for Dallas.
I thought about it, but I thought that was kind of a little bit too mean because of the Dak injury.
Nope.
And I think they could have gone probably 10-6, maybe 9-7 with Dak. I think they would have made the playoffs. I don't think they would have got out of the wild card round, but that's why I gave him a C-. But
I'm giving it a D for Dallas because it's funny.
I'll change my grade, D for Dallas.
and give me the hate, Cowboys fans. Spread this. Let me hear it. Get more clicks on us. Do it now. Anyway, Chris, on to the Eagles before I get too crazy here.
I'm going to start with the grade first. I'm going to give them a solid F on the season. I'm going to start with the negatives. Quarterback play, for one, from Carson Wentz was not good. Jalen Hurts showed some bright spots, but wasn't the greatest from him either. Offensive line, atrocious. Receivers, who are they? Defense, where's it even at? Like, I mean, you might as well have just forfeited all 11 of those games that you lost because no. Yeah, not a good season overall for the Eagles. A whole lot of negatives for them, not a whole lot of positives. I think my one positive is going to be Jalen Hurts. I think he's got the potential to be a pretty good quarterback, kind of like maybe like a not as running Lamar Jackson or a maybe not as talented Patrick Mahomes. I think he can be a good starting quarterback as long as the coaching staff keeps him in the game.
Did you just describe Dak Prescott?
I mean, no. But Jalen, he's got more running ability than Dak does, I believe. And I think that brings more versatility to the offense, more the play action game, which will get Miles Sanders more involved. And I think there's some real potential with Jalen and with the offense and Miles Sanders, but it was just a whole lot of crap all season. So, yeah, I give them an F.
I guess I'll go the same order you went, where I'll start off the grade. If I could find one worse than F, I would, but I will give you an F. The negatives is just that team, mainly the defense and that offensive line. I'm not even going to grade you on Carson Wentz because Carson Wentz isn't even part of the team anymore. As for the positives, I love your jerseys. Those black jerseys should be your main jerseys. Give me the black tops with green pants and green helmets any day of the week. I don't really have a positive for the Eagles, and I'm sorry, Eagles fans. I know Philly can be very ravaged with this team, but I think any common Philadelphia will agree with me that the bright spot is this might be the worst year you'll have. Might. But no,
oh my goodness.
I know I'm being a little harsh on them. I can't find a bright spot. Jalen Hurts, and you took the bright spot. It was Jalen Hurts, Boston Scott, and Miles Sanders were the bright spots. But yeah, a true negative. They need to that receiving core is the true negative, and the running backs committee was probably the true positive. But no, seriously, about those jerseys. Black tops, green bottoms, green helmets. Boom, there you go. Main jersey. Don't stray from it.
Never a good thing when the sole positive from an entire 16-game season is the jerseys. Let's just throw that out there.
The Eagles have some good jerseys, man. They really do.
No, don't get me wrong. I like their black draw. I agree with your jersey combinations, but it's not good when that's the sole positive of a 16-game NFL season.
Maybe one day we'll rank. Maybe one day we'll rank NFL jerseys. We'll make a tier of NFL jerseys.
There we go. I think that's an episode for when we run out of our scheduled programs here towards the end of the summer.
So speaking of scheduled programs, he did just bring this up. We do have a set list here. So obviously they will either be coming out Tuesday or Wednesdays. Probably Tuesday nights or Wednesday mornings for episodes. You can find them anywhere you can get podcasts. So today is the February 23rd we're recording. Next week is March 2nd we'll be recording. We will be going over the NFC South division. The 9th, we will be going over the NFC North. And then on the 16th, we'll be going over the NFC West. Then on the 23rd, we'll go AFC East. 30th, we'll go AFC South. The 6th, we'll go AFC North. And the 13th, we'll go AFC West. And I lost track there. I think it leads us to the 27th.
June 13th.
June 13th?
I think, yeah, right?
No.
Am I right? Or did I misfollow on my calendar?
I think you missed, because you got February 23rd, March 2nd. So you got East, South, North, West, East, North, South, West, which brings us to April 20th.
Okay. Yeah, I was a month ahead.
Yeah, no, you're
my bad.
But pretty much we'll go through that. And then we'll go through, I believe on the 20th, I think is when we decide we will do our teams, where we'll do an in-depth Packers and Dolphins review, leading to the 27th for the draft. And then after that, we'll do draft-free coverage of the teams. And then by that time, it'll take us deep into June, July, maybe even August. Maybe that's when we'll do our jersey tiers. We'll have lots to cover up with both draft recaps and free agency recaps and leading into the regular season. And then come the regular season, you can still expect to get these every Tuesday, because that's a great time to get it, because you'll have the Thursday, Sunday, Monday games. Pray to God there's no COVID Tuesday games, because oof. And that's what you can expect. We will be getting a Twitter account rolled up here soon. We'll be getting a YouTube channel pulled out. Follow our Twitter. It will probably be at Punt It Pod whenever it gets out there. Don't forget to comment and rate, review, all that good stuff. Please let us know what you liked, what you didn't like. Tell us how bad our takes are. And again, if you like this, please tell your friends. Like I said, we're just starting this off. This is our first episode. It's our maiden voyage. Why we chose to do the NFC East? Because it was the worst division, and this might be our worst show. But no one starts off great, so we'll just kind of go from there. I've got nothing really else to say. Chris, do you have anything you want to say?
No, not really. I just want to thank everybody who listens. We're just gonna have some fun with this. This is something me and me and TJ over here have been wanting to do for a while, and we hope that everybody likes it, and we hope we can get pretty popular here and make some people's Tuesdays and Wednesdays whenever they listen, hear our stupid takes and all that stuff. So we appreciate everybody who starts out this journey with us right away, and we thank you.
Yep. So thank you guys very much for listening, and have a good one, and we'll see you next week when we talk about the NFC South.